Have you ever felt like something is shifting in your life, but there is no obvious reason why? The things that once felt right, your job, your habits, even certain people, begin to feel like they no longer fit. Like the rhythm you have been dancing to no longer matches the beat of who you are becoming. This is not just burnout or confusion. It is a deeper part of you recognizing that something no longer aligns. You start noticing strange patterns, repeating thoughts, a quiet pull towards something you can't name. It feels small at first, like a passing feeling, but it keeps coming back. You keep telling yourself you will figure it out, you will make the move, you will change. But days turn into weeks, weeks turn into months, and you begin to wonder, what if life has already given me signs and I just have not been listening? Carl Jung said, "You are what you do, not what you say you will do. You are closer to the right path than you think. Here are 10 signs from the universe that you already are." Many of us assume that restlessness means something is wrong, that we are ungrateful, indecisive, or broken in some way. What if it is not a flaw? What if it is a message? The restlessness is one of the kindest signs life can give us, a whisper from the deeper parts of ourselves that we have stayed in one place too long. It's not always dramatic. It might just be a quiet feeling that your days don't feel like your days anymore. That is, the conversations you are in feel repetitive. The life around you is starting to feel distant. And still we tell ourselves to push through, to become mature, thankful, and stop overthinking. But under all that noise, there is a quieter truth forming. This is not where I'm meant to stay. Restlessness is not an error. It's about the form of inner truth. It means you have started to outgrow the roles, the routines, even the people that once made sense. It means your soul is knocking, not loudly but persistently. And the most important thing you can do is listen. When life starts to feel too tight around you, it is often a gentle sign you are ready to step into something wider, something more true, gradually, and honestly, into the person you are slowly becoming. There are pivotal moments in life when everything shifts without so much as a warning. One day you are following your routine, working, planning, striving to maintain control. Then, in an instant, the rhythm is broken. You wake up to a version of life that feels entirely foreign. This disruption can be disorienting. The foundations you have built, your job, relationships, and plans, now seem uncertain. You may instinctively try to return to the familiar, seeking stability. Deep down, you realize this change is not just external. It reflects an internal shift. Something in your life no longer aligns with your true self, prompting a need to reassess and realign. Carl Jung believed that true transformation often arises from disruption, not as an act of cruelty from life, but as a necessary response from the psyche that craves change. He wrote that there is no coming to consciousness without pain, and that what we don't confront within ourselves eventually shows up in our external world. When the foundations we have built begin to crack, it is not merely a stroke of bad luck. It signals a deeper truth demanding to be acknowledged, a truth that has long awaited our recognition. Life isn't about having all the answers. It is about the courage to admit when we don't. In the midst of breakage, there often lies greater clarity than was ever present in the original plan. Although the path ahead may be unclear, that uncertainty doesn't imply it lacks direction. And what you have labeled as a setback, Perhaps it is actually the pivotal moment when your life starts to call for something new. It might be the point where your story begins to transform, not with certainty, but with profound truth. If something keeps crossing your mind, it is worth asking why. Because not all repetition is random. It could be a project you always imagine, a place you want to live, or a way of showing up in the world that feels more honest. Not because your current life is wrong, but because the part of it no longer feels like a full reflection of you. It surfaces at random, in quiet moments during long drives while you are doing something ordinary. You try to ignore it, tell yourself it is not the right time, or that you already made your choice, but it's still there. When something keeps showing up like that, it is rarely without meaning. It reflects a part of you that is waiting to be recognized, not for attention, but for alignment. Jung called this process individuation, the journey of integrating what is unconscious into conscious life. Not to become someone else, but to become more fully yourself. We often silence what matters to us because it doesn't match the version of life we have already built. It's not just a passing thought. It is a reflection of something that still matters to you. You don't need to map out the whole plan. Just need to stop treating it like a distraction. Every so often, a certain idea shows up again. Not because you are looking for it, but it keeps finding its way back to you. You scroll past it online, someone brings it up in conversation. Then it shows up again in a book, a video, or a random post that somehow lands at the right time. It is easy to brush these things off. Coincidence, pattern seeking, nothing serious. But when the same theme appears over and over, it usually lines up with something you have already been thinking about, even if you have not said it yet. This is not about signs in a mystical sense. It is about recognition. Something internal begins to match something external, and that match makes it harder to ignore. Often we are already wrestling with a thought before we see it repeated around us. And the repetition makes it harder to pretend we are not aware of it. It might be about letting go of something, taking a step you have delayed, or finally admitting that a part of your life feels off. Even if everything looks fine from the outside. When the same message keeps showing up, it is holding space until you are ready to respond to it. Because what repeats often reveals what matters. Sometimes life starts offering you something new before you feel ready to receive it. An unexpected message, a quiet opportunity, a conversation that points you somewhere you had not planned to go. You shrug it off the first time, call it a coincidence. But then it shows up again, from a different place in a different form, and still lands in the same direction. That is when you begin to pay attention. Because patterns like that are not always random. They often echo something you have not fully admitted to yourself yet. A readiness, a shift, a quiet alignment you are only starting to notice. Carl Jung understood this kind of timing. He called it synchronicity, when inner shifts begin to mirror the outer world, to show up through patterns, and life responds to where you are heading, even before you have arrived. These moments don't come with clarity. Sometimes they come as small nudges, a chance meeting, an opening you did not chase, a door that appears more than once. It is not about what is being offered, it is about whether you are ready to receive it. Not every opportunity is the right one, but when something continues to return and it lines up with where your energy has quietly been leaning, the shift is not in what is arriving. It is in your ability to recognize it for what it is. Not every door is yours to walk through. but some appear more than once, as if waiting for you to finally step into what you have been preparing for. There is a kind of restlessness that does not come from stress or boredom, but from the quiet sense that something in your life no longer fits. Nothing looks wrong on the surface. You are doing what you have always done before. But underneath it, something feels misaligned, like you have started to outgrow the shape you have been living in. It does not always turn up as a plan. Sometimes it is a shift in how you feel. The things that used to motivate you don't hit the same way. You begin to crave something more honest. Carl Jung believed that each of us carries an image of who we are meant to become. And when we live too far from that image for too long, we begin to feel the conflict, a tension between who we are on the outside and who we know ourselves to be on the inside. That tension is not something to fix. It is something to notice. And that does not come with clarity. It often begins with discomfort, a version of your life that no longer reflects your inner pace. You might not have the words for what you want next, but you know what you are no longer willing to settle for. Jung said that true transformation does not begin with external change. It begins when the inner world can no longer live quietly inside the wrong shape, but when something inside you keeps insisting there is more to uncover. That is your direction. These reactions are not weaknesses, they are signals, the part of you that is tired of holding everything in. And the longer you push those feelings down, the heavier they get. Jung once wrote, "What you resist not only persists but will grow in size. The emotions you keep trying to silence don't disappear. And over time they press back harder, not to punish you but to tell you that something is no longer working." If your emotions feel sharper than usual, things are hitting harder, lasting longer. It doesn't mean something is wrong with you. It means the part you have been avoiding is finally ready to be recognized. The shift doesn't start with a big decision. You wake up and go through the motions, doing what you have always done, but lately it feels like something is missing. The routines that once made you feel grounded now leave you anxious. The structure that used to give you focus now feels like a loop you cannot step out of. It's not that anything is going wrong. It is just that it all feels strangely distant, like you are watching your own life happen from the outside. Carl Jung spoke about how growth often requires the dismantling of the personal, the version of ourselves we created to operate, to succeed, to belong. Over time, we build habits, routines, even identities that help us fit in and move forward. But when that version becomes too rigid, it starts to feel more like a role you are performing than a life you are living. We tend to associate progress with more goals, more productivity, more certainty. But sometimes progress means releasing what no longer feels like you, even if it once did. It is your life giving you a chance to adjust the shape before you grow too far away from it. And noticing that might be the most honest thing you have done in a while. Once you start noticing what no longer fits, you will begin noticing what is starting to grow in its place. The first sign that you are changing is not what you have walked away from. It is what you have started moving toward, almost without realizing it. You find yourself drawn to new things, books you would not have picked up a year ago, podcasts that pull you into conversations you didn't even know you cared about. Ideas, topics, habits, all quietly reshaping the way you think, the way you see yourself. You think you are exploring, curious, figuring things out. But beneath that curiosity is something deeper, a subtle shift in identity. Carl Jung described this process as individuation, becoming more whole by bringing forward the parts of ourselves we have left behind. The things drawing your attention now could be the parts of you that have waited patiently, finally being allowed to speak. Sometimes the sign that you are on the right path doesn't come as momentum. It comes as resistance. You try something, and it doesn't work out. You take a step, and nothing moves. You share your truth, and get met with silence. It is tempting to take these moments as proof that you are doing something wrong, to think the timing is off. But not every setback means you have lost your way. It is the discomfort that comes from stretching into unfamiliar spaces. Growth is not always supported by what surrounds you, and rejection is not personal. The hardest part is growing when everything around you is staying the same, because setbacks do not mean you are on the wrong path. They are part of the path, a rough, humbling stretch meant to refine you, not stop you. Carl Jung once wrote, "Even a happy life cannot be without a measure of darkness, and the word happy would lose its meaning if it were not balanced by sadness. It is far better to take things as they come along with patience and equanimity." Difficulty does not mean something is wrong. It means you are in unfamiliar territory and still choosing to show up. The path may not look the way you imagined. Even if it moves slower than you expected, it is still progress, and it is worth it. Let it remind you of how far you have already come, and how deeply this change matters to you. If this message felt like something you needed to hear today, write in the comment, "I choose to trust the path." Let's see how many of us are starting to trust the shift. Don't forget to keep watching the next video. It is much more important than you imagine. See you there.